Hi, this is James. A couple weeks ago, I was looking through a comic book box and reflecting on what type of books I'm going to keep. Been spending more time on that. Let's get into that. Second video where I'm exploring how I'm reducing my comic book collection, how I'm culling it. In the first video, I was going through a Red Sonja box. Sorry, right behind me is my dog. She's laying down now, you can't see her. This time, I'm going to be looking at a part of my collection where I have to be more intentional. With the Red Sonja run, I realized really a lot of it was, I don't want to say FOMO, but I was getting into the story not because I enjoyed Red Sonja, not because this is something I wanted to collect, but because other people were reading it, and so I should read it too, right? And it was easy, therefore, for me to go through it, identify what had value in my collection and what didn't. And now we're starting to get to parts of my collection where that decision-making process is going to be a little elaborate. Okay, we're going to require some reflection. And so I've kind of developed some criteria for it. As a teacher, I make decisions in the classroom all the time based on certain expectations to what will happen because of this. I use data to make a decision. And what I recognize is that as a comic book collector, emotion is a part of that. Passion is a part of that. And so whether it was an impulsive decision on the front end or there was over time a change in my feelings towards a certain part of the collection, that's okay. I just need to recognize that and develop some sort of criteria. Okay, so almost like a checklist. The first thing is there are tentpole characters and titles in my collection that I'm not going to touch. And that deserves actually another video on its own, and so that'll be forthcoming. But in a nutshell, there are things that have gotten me into collecting as an adult or when I was younger that connect to me because maybe it was a comic book my father gave to me, or maybe it was the first comic book I purchased, or maybe as an adult, this is something I got into. Okay, so those are things that are non-negotiable, and those particular aspects of my collection I'm going to keep. Okay, I'm not looking at those and going, hey, this is something that I don't need as much Batman comic books, you know, if there's such a thing. Okay, the second is, and I'm looking over to the side because I wrote this down, I spent some time reflecting on it. Second thing is the emotional connection, or the connection it does have towards a particular genre. For example, I have found in the past couple of years, nostalgia is a motivating factor into what I collect. So, for example, Saturday morning cartoons, anything related to a Saturday morning cartoon, I really kind of look at and typically end up purchasing. These could be comic books from the 80s when I was watching Saturday morning cartoons, and so I'm picking up those. It could be something now, like, for example, G.I. Joe, Real American Hero. I have not collected G.I. Joe comics until Skybound started carrying it. Why? Because when I was a kid, I watched G.I. Joe comic books, or G.I. Joe cartoons. Thundercats, same thing. Silverhawks, same thing. So they're books like that. Dynamite, was it Dynamite? They even had a Saturday morning cartoon kind of imprint for some books. I was picking up those because it was a callback to when I was a kid. And that was a part of my childhood that I really enjoyed. Another kind of quirky thing is with my kids, I used to watch the Sci-Fi Channel. For those of you not inside the States, Sci-Fi Channel was a U.S. broadcasting channel that showed all this really weird science fiction stuff, a lot of B stuff until the Battlestar Galactica redo came out. Watched it with my kids. And so things that I think would be on the Sci-Fi Channel in the early aughts, those are things that kind of I've curated. I have a short box for it. It's going to stay there. I am looking at readability. Is this a story I would want to read again? And I think as a part of being a comic book collector, I'm a comic book reader. I enjoy reading. And so if it's a story that I find compelling, it moved me, it connected with me, and that's something I want to save, because my goal is hopefully in my lifetime I come back to it. Now we're kind of getting towards the bottom of the criteria, and these are places where it's easier to make decisions. So temple titles and characters, that's non-negotiable. Things that connect with me either emotionally or because of the genre, those are a little bit more ephemeral. Next would be particular creative teams. I'm a big fan of Tom King, but I don't collect everything Tom King's written. So that's where I'm being more selective. I enjoy certain artists. We saw in the Red Sonja book, or the Red Sonja box, there was a lot by Jenny Frison. I kept all of that because it was kind of a breakout role, I thought, for her. There's other parts of my collection where it's Art Germ or Alex Ross or Gabriel Dell'Otto. So those types of artists is something that's going to hold its own in my collection. And it's easier for me to make that decision. I'm not going to keep every Art Germ cover. It has to be perhaps a part of a specific curated set. The same with Jenny Frison, etc. Last, and this is going to be perhaps the easiest element to decide, am I keeping it or not? Is it a part of my collection discipline? Is this a book I picked up because of FOMO? You know, everybody else was doing it, and so James had to do it too. If that's the case, I don't need to keep it, okay? Am I keeping a book because I'm specking on it? Okay, hey, here's kind of like subtext. I've sold almost no comic books. Like, I have almost 8,000 books, 9,000 books, somewhere, it's about 8,000 and change. I've sold very, very few. Like, so specking on a book really isn't going to be a thing for me. Is it something where I'm just being a completionist? And that's going to be a more difficult conversation, because did I complete this run because I want to keep it? Did I complete this run because I just had this collector OCD and I had to do it? And we're going to kind of walk through that today with another box to see kind of how I'm going through this process. All right, so here's the box I'm going to be going through today. You can see right here, and I like doing this. It's pretty easy to do using, what are these, Avery? They're actually name tags. This is a Wonder Woman box. I think this is volume 8. No, volume 7. This is the Rebirth run. Here we see right here. And then I don't really like handwriting on my short boxes or on my boxes, period. It's just a me thing, so I print off, this is box number 12. Now, this is just kind of a side quest for a moment. What ends up happening is as I get to a point where I need a new comic book box, I just make it the next number. So this means, like, I have another Wonder Woman short box I've started, but that short box is not the next number. It's not the adjacent number, because that's not where it kind of fell in the line of, oh, I need a new box. It is what it is. Okay. As I shared, okay, so here we have a facsimile for, this is George Perez and his run. I'm going to put that aside. I haven't read that comic book. So this is the Rebirth run. It started out with Greg Rucka and Liam Sharp. This is the Frank Cho variant cover. This is cover number 2. And so what I had to do is I had to spend some time, and I probably spent several hours digging into the story makeup of this run. Okay, I have the entire volume, And when we're looking at my criteria, why do I have this entire volume? It was just completionism. It's like, well, and maybe a little FOMO. I was concerned I'd missed something out. The beginning of this run started really strong with Greg Rucka, and he was doing a was it bi-weekly? It was every 2 weeks. That's what I recall, at least. Story that was taking place in both the past and the future, and it kind of converged on a central point, and it was really, really good. Okay, that is a story I want to reread, but it's not the entire run. It only went up to issue number 25, so stopped right here. Here we have a really cool Jenny Frischen cover. This right here is something I probably will totally reread, and so I'm going to put that aside from now. This long box right here is actually where I'm putting all of my books that I'm going to have to get rid of. I think I'm going to sell them at half price books. So there are some really cool covers in this run. Now this is what, 10-ish years ago. Frank Cho started on the covers, and I love Frank Cho's art, and I think he did a phenomenal job, but he and Greg Rucka, and maybe Liam Sharp, I don't know, they hit a point where there was a disagreement, and it was this issue right here. The original art, cover art for this, showed more of Wonder Woman's backside, and that offended Greg Rucka. I'm not saying it's good or bad. It did. He didn't feel it represented the character, didn't show respect to the character. And so Frank Cho was taken off of doing cover art for this. And they got Jenny Frischen. Okay, and she did a phenomenal job. Now, I have all of the Jenny Frischen variant covers for this run. It's not the first time I've collected Jenny Frischen, though. So keeping her art, her covers doesn't appeal to me. So when we're looking at the criteria, some of this is completionism. So a lot of this I'm going to get rid of because it's just books I was pulling, I was subbing because I'd been subbing it and I didn't want to miss something. Part of it was cover art for a while. I was getting the Jenny Frischen covers because she was she was a hot artist, but I already have some of her art that I think will hold a better value long term. When we're looking at readability, that's really what I'm going to be making my decision on, because while I enjoy Wonder Woman as a character, I think she is an essential part of the trinity of Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. On her own, that's not what's selling it to me. I'm going to be looking at creative team and readability. So I'm going to keep all the Rucka books because of that. And let's pull these out. Let's see, we're at 18. And we go to 25, right there. Okay, you can see some really cool covers right here. I think Jenny Frischen really showed some depth. That's a very cool cover. That's cool. That's cool right there. Okay, so these are books I'm definitely keeping. Because his run, his story was phenomenal, and I think it's going to age really well. This would be a story I'd want to reread it. But then we get to some filler teams, and I felt for a long time, I don't even know, this is Fontana, I don't even know who that is. I felt like DC didn't know what they were doing. With this. Some really cool Frischen covers. So we have, this is the 700th issue. I'll probably keep the anniversary issues because it's kind of a hallmark. But a lot of these other ones I'm not really looking at keeping. This was an engaging story at the time, but it's not something I think is worn real well. So Darkseid was killed, and then he came back because Darkseid can't die. He's immortal, and he was a baby. For a while, I think it was in Metal or Death Metal, Batman was carrying him around in a baby holster on his front chest. He ends up killing a bunch of gods in this and getting his power back. The story has not aged well because, you know, he just showed up in his full glory in DCKO last year. However, there are a couple stories in here, a couple issues that are tie-ins, and so that's what I'm looking for. These are tie-ins to other events that, there's an art term cover, that's pretty cool, that I think I really enjoyed. Is this art term? I don't know. Oh, here we go. 56. So this was the Season of the Witch, I think it was called. Issue number 56. This was a crossover between Justice League Dark Volume 2 and Wonder Woman, and there were some other tie-in books. It was a really good story. I think Wonder Woman as the leader of Justice League Dark is something DC should go back to, but that's just me. So here we got one issue. This is a Jenny Frischen cover that is just wicked looking, and then the next issue right here, issue number 57. So these were the two tie-in, and then DC did this spot foil. I'm not sure who did, oh, Witching Hour, that's the name of it. I'm going to keep this one too. So here are 3 books I'm going to be keeping because of their tie into Witching Hour, which, if you have not read Justice League Dark, I highly recommend it. And I thought Volume 2, in my opinion, was better than Volume 1, only because it gave Wonder Woman a place. Like, she was the preeminent leader of Justice League Dark. Because of her mythological role. So here we got some books right here. Let's get back into this. We see a bunch of more Frisian. Oh, I already looked at these. Now there was another run. So G. Willow Wilson did a run on this, and I need to take a look at it. So Steve Orlando did too. So all of this right here, I'm going to get rid of. Wilson's run was pretty good, but it was only a couple issues. I think it ended right around 65. So I'm going to keep these right here. There's a cool art term book. There's another cool art term book, and we'll just put those right there. Where are we at? We're up in the 50s now. Yeah, see Robinson. We've already seen these. This is Wilson. Okay. So Wilson. That's a cool looking cover. Wilson did that too. Wilson. Okay, so there were 2 parts to Wilson's run. The first part was more mythical, with Diana dealing with different gods, and the second part kind of took this bent where she's fighting Cheetah, and it was pretty solid. It was kind of dark. That's a sick looking cover right there. Check that out. So I'm going to think about keeping this part of the run. I'm not sure. Another Wilson book. Here you get kind of a look at it. This is a deceased variant cover. Wilson. Here's the Cheetah. This is one of those acetate covers, and you can see Wonder Woman has Cheetah on it. And then Orlando came back. Okay, so we're going to put this aside. And now this is kind of cool. I don't know if I want to keep these though. So Jenny Frischen did this, but she's experimenting with showing Wonder Woman in different time periods, but keeping the same pose. This is issue 750, so I'll keep that. So we kind of get her in the same pose here. That's kind of cool, red, white, and blue. but I don't want to, not cool enough to keep. And the next one, we're going to skip. It's a little farther on. We're looking for Becky Cloonan's run. That's a Josh Middleton cover. Okay, Tamaki was doing this. Here we go. So Cloonan starts at right around 8, is it 770? So 771. So she took over right after, yeah, okay. So this is right after death metal. And in death metal, spoiler, if you don't want to miss this, Wonder Woman dies. She sacrifices herself. And so Cloonan told this story, which is really about her going into the afterlife. I think it started a little later, though. I need to double check my notes. So I'm going to keep all of Cloonan's stuff also, which goes all the way to the end of the run. So if we look at this, I am reducing my collection by, it looks like, at least 40%. I'm going to pause right here. I'm going to take out the books I'm getting rid of, kind of tab everything out, and come back and show you what I got. Okay, so I had to confirm my note with my notes, and then even after that, I double-checked things online because some things weren't lining up quite right. As you can see right here, and some of these books weren't in this box. I went from having an entire short box filled with this volume of Wonder Woman to, I'd estimate, I purged about 60% of it. And what's left is stuff that definitely is rereadable to me. At the beginning of the run, and I thought this was kind of cool as an entry point and on-ramp, DC had these Rebirth issues. I had another copy of this. This is the second print. And I don't see the point in keeping 2 copies of this. This is the Art Germ one anyway, so that one's better. And then I had every annual for this run because, and I watched this other video by another creator who, John with Comics with Kids, and he was talking about how, do you consider annuals part of the run? Do you not? And I do, but Rucka only wrote this one annual number 1. The other annuals were by Stephen Orlando, and they were just kind of one of. So I kept this issue. Then I kept the anniversary issues. So we got 700 and 750 by Jenny Frischen. In the back here, we also have 800. I got the Brian Boland variant. And then let's tip this up a little bit. So this is the Greg Rucka run, the first 25 issues. So I'm keeping that. It's really rereadable. It's awesome. These are the Witching Hour tie-ins. I'm keeping both the Spot Foil and the Jenny Frischen issue number 56 because I think Spot Foil is gimmicky, but I like gimmicks. This is G. Willow Wilson had a couple stories, but this one was the Just War. It dealt with Ares. It was really fun. So I'm keeping that for now. The rest of her run I'm not keeping. And the rest of it way back here, this is all part of Becky Cloonan's Wonder Woman, and it kind of broke down into 2 big stories. One's a tie-in, and then one, well, honestly, they're both either as a result of a DC event or leading up to a DC event. So this part right here, this is, I'll zoom in a little bit. James, you need to cut this out. Okay, so she had 2 parts to her run that dealt with either DC events, either a prologue or epilogue, I guess. This is all about the after effects of death metal, where Wonder Woman died. And she ends up going to Valhalla There's a talking squirrel in it. I thought it was really good, and it was different than a lot of kind of the Greek mythology. And then this other part right here is either tying in or building to the part of the Lazarus Planet event that focused on the magic characters, the mythological characters like Shazam and his family. This was Revenge of the Gods, so I'm keeping that too. So all in all, I'm really happy with what I've cut down to and what I'm keeping. I definitely think this has helped me reflect on that completionism. Like, there are times when being a completionist as a collector is essential, but it doesn't have to be all the time. And I think here, this is definitely a part of it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed listening to me ramble on, like, share, subscribe, leave me a comment. Tell me what you think about my criteria looking at tentpole books, looking at readability, looking at emotional or genre connections, or completionism, FOMO, or creative teams. You know, what would you use as your criteria, as your checklist in deciding what to keep or what not to keep?